Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Laudits TV. Today we ask the question, are you actually far right? Are you a fascist because you hold the flag of St. George or the Union flag? We've heard it many times by the extreme left and, well, those that just disagree with anybody that disagrees with them. But in today's video, we're going to dive into this heavy topic. What is fascism? Who are its most notorious examples? And is there any credibility to call political parties like Reform UK or any patriot that just wants their country back a far-right racist? And how does it compare to the so-called far-right in the UK? You know, that most mythical of beings, similar to Camelot or King Arthur. We'll explore the ideology, look at figures like Mussolini and Hitler, you know, real fascists, real far-right, and then tackle the myth that parties like Reform UK are fascist. So, are you far-right? So let's begin with the real fascist. Here's a picture of some real fascist. Oh, hang on, sorry. Let's sort this out. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Oh, Antifa. What are Antifa doing up there? They're supposed to be anti-fascist, aren't they? Oh, hang on. Something's going wrong. Let's try again. Ah, there we go. That's more comfortable for the extreme left, isn't it? The ones that they think that Reform and most British people are nowadays for standing up to their country. But anyway, you may know these individuals. This is Adolf Hitler, leader of Nazi Germany, and Benito Mussolini, leader of Italy, through the 20s and 40s anyway, give or take a decade between the two. But let's start with the basics. What actually is fascism? And what do fascists believe in? It's a term thrown around a lot, but its roots are specific. Fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist ideology that emerged in the early 20th century. So far-right, not just right, authoritarian, not believing in democracy, ultra-nationalist, not just nationalist. Just to reaffirm those points. It's all about a dictatorial leader, suppression of dissent, and putting the nation above the individual. Core beliefs. Fascists believe in extreme nationalism, often tied to racial or ethnic purity, a natural social hierarchy where elites rule, and a totalitarian state that crushes opposition. Gosh, I wonder what all those people of colour and minorities think when they attend these patriot rallies. Do they know? Key traits: militarism, a one-party state, and a dirigist economy where the state controls markets to achieve autarky, also known as self-sufficiency. They reject democracy, liberalism, and equality. And as we know, fascism dominated parts of Europe from 1919 to 1945, thriving in times of economic hardship by blaming government or minorities for societal woes. Blaming the government. That sounds like a certain group that we know of. Does that make Antifa fascist? Oh, wait, no, sorry. It's only pick a mix when it comes to accusing patriots, right? Here's Franco, another actual fascist. But to understand fascism, let's look at its most infamous examples. We've already spoken about Mussolini and his Italy. We've already spoken about Hitler and his Nazi Germany. And I've just introduced you to Franco, who ruled in Spain. And these regimes shaped the ideology's legacy. Let's start with Benito Mussolini. This chap here looks like a happy guy. It's definitely somebody you want vibing at your party, right? Mussolini's Italy ran from 1922 to 1943 when he annoyed too many of his people. He founded modern fascism, using the Roman fasces symbol to evoke past glory. He banned opposition, controlled the economy, and invaded Ethiopia in 1935, pushing militaristic expansion. Then we move on to one of the most recognizable chaps in the 20th century. This guy, Adolf Hitler, who, funny enough, is also standing next to one of the extreme left's icons and poster boys. I bet they pop a few out to Stalin. Funny that they don't call themselves fascist when they're jerking one off to Stalin and his ultra-nationalist market-controlling ideology. But Hitler's Nazi Germany was 1933 to 1945 when he supposedly, or did he to Argentina? Who knows? Hitler took fascism to a genocidal extreme, a real genocide. Envisioning a racially pure society, the Nazis suppressed dissent, waged war and killed millions, like the 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, which actually happened, guys. Then we come back to Frank Bruno. Sorry, Frank Bruno, you're a legend. Franco's Spain from 1939 to 1975. Notably, he didn't take part in World War II, which is why he probably lived 3 decades longer. But Franco's regime wasn't pure fascism, but borrowed heavily from it. The Falange Party, inspired by Mussolini, helped him establish an authoritarian state with nationalist propaganda and suppression of dissent. If you haven't yet seen Pan's Labyrinth, go and watch it. It's a very good film set in Franco's Spain. Very disturbing. But all 3 regimes featured dictators, extreme nationalism, and a cult of personality rejecting democracy for total control. Now for the grand reveal, guys, because have you decided yet whether you're far right after what we've been discussing? Because these chaps here are actual far right in the UK. Yeah, things that none of us on the patriot side agree with. You know, these are ones that genuinely align with extremist ideologies like Antifa and the extreme left communists that we see on the streets calling for the destruction of our nation and opening all the borders and having a globalist regime that they can tug one out to. These are a clear example of far-right extremism, with members linked to terror plots like planning attacks on MPs. Then you had the National Front. Emerging in the 1960s, the National Front pushed white nationalism and anti-immigration policies, reflecting far-right ideologies tied to fears about the decline of the British Empire. They've faded, but still linger on the fringes, which I know that a lot of these patriot groups have tried to expunge from these protests because they don't want it there. They aren't anti-immigration, they're anti-illegal immigration. They are anti-people that come here to take from the country and make it a worse place. We're not saying that all immigrants do that. But you don't seem to listen to that, do you? Because you have your extreme ideologies. The balanced, fair, just out there that are listening to this video will hear me and understand the actual legitimate points that we're trying to put across. But the extremists will be always extremists. Now, these groups often share fascist-like traits, extreme nationalism, racial or cultural purity, and a willingness to use violence or intimidation. They're not playing within democratic rules. Something Antifa know about very well. But let's not talk about Antifa, guys, and their quite evidently fascist strategies. Now let's tackle the myth, the idea that parties like Reform UK are far right or even fascist. This label is pushed by extreme left agitators, and it's frankly laughable when you look at the facts, which a lot of us have done. We've laughed at them because they come across as incredibly crazy people that never have any facts to back it up, just the usual anecdotal hysteria. But Reform UK's platform. So Reform UK wants lower immigration. Net migration was just under 700,000 in 2024, and that's Home Office statistics. That's who's been accounted for. Tax cuts and scrapping net zero targets. They're anti-establishment, but operate within democracy, advocating for elections and free speech. Even a few months ago, they stopped being a business and are now limited by guarantee, which means that it puts the power back in the members' hands. They're not fascist. Fascism means a dictator, a one-party state and suppression of dissent. Reform UK doesn't call for any of that. They're a populist radical right party, not extreme right or fascist. They don't push racial hierarchies or militarism. Again, facts here, guys. Now, the extreme left will say, oh, it's all coded, it's all smoke and mirrors, They'd know about that. The extreme left, and I'm going to compliment them for the first time, is they're very good at psyops. They're very good at going, watch the girl in the red dress, Neo. Watch the girl in the red dress, Neo, so you're not seeing what I'm doing over here. Now, the left labels Reform UK fascist because they oppose high immigration and multiculturalism. It's a cheap tactic to demonise them, ignoring their democratic engagement. And again, it's another tactic by the left. You've got to create the bad guy so everyone can rally behind them. And, oh, actually, it's not extreme enough. Let's throw racist. Let's throw far right. Let's throw fascist in. Because do you know what? Everyone in the UK hates those people. So let's just say that they're all that, and then everyone can get behind it and not actually get to know the individuals involved who are patriotic and just want the best for everybody in their country. Nah, let's just reduce them. Let's dehumanize them for our own gains. So if you're watching this and you're on the left and you think that everybody that goes to a patriot rally is racist or anti-immigrant or anything like that, wake up, go and talk to one of them and realize there's humanity in us. Now, why does this matter? Let's zoom out. Mislabeling parties like Reform UK as fascist isn't just wrong, it has bigger consequences for the UK's political landscape and society. You're looking at polarisation, so calling everything far right or fascist polarises debate. It shuts down legitimate discussions about immigration and paints half the country as extremists. Again, something that we're never going to forgive Keir Starmer for in the wake of the Southport riots last year, where he came out and he weaponised distrust and dislike against patriots by calling them all far right. And then the rise of extremism. Ironically, this smear can drive people towards actual far-right groups. If mainstream parties like Reform UK are demonised, some might turn to groups like the National Front or National Action out of frustration. And this is something I've spoken about in depth before. If you call somebody who's not racist enough times, then you're probably going to drive them towards a certain ideology because they feel like they've got nowhere to go and they're not listened to. And when you start making somebody hate you when they've done nothing wrong to begin with, the blame's on you. It's quite similar to the burning of that plantation in America. There were a lot of black people there who were celebrating and had their phones out, and I get it's cathartic on the face of it. You're like, brilliant. Finally, some revenge against our ancestors who went through absolute hell. But simultaneously, what you're doing there is destroying a monument, a part of history that should remain to remind us of times that we should never return to. Again, it's nuance. That's similar to like the Jews going back to Auschwitz and burning it down, well, what's left of it anyway, and rejoicing. But then that monument is gone forever. What visual representation is there to go, you see that over there? Do you know what happened there? Whilst great for social media and getting your views up, to preventing genuine extremism from coming back. And I'm fearful that it's already finding its feet on both sides. It's worrying times. But there you go, is a quick dive into fascism and the far right. And did any of you decide that actually you are now far right, or any of the extreme left go, oh, actually maybe we're far right because of how we're handling things? But there you go. You know, we like to add stats and data and facts into these videos because they can be confusing for those that just rely on emotion to further their own political aims. But again, thank you for joining. Thank you for watching. Please do subscribe. We're trying to get to 10K. Trying to get to 10K by the start of August. TikTok. And if you like this sort of content, go on over to Laudits without the TV. Laudits, my main channel, my parent channel, to see a lot more content. But we'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.